Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to My Personal Literary History by James R. Stout. We will begin our tale at the beginning. Like most writers, I started quite young. No, not quite that young. Just give me a second here. There we go. Little old me. My interest in books first started when my mother would read them to me every night before I went to sleep. These would, of course, consist of the usual suspects. For example, Dr. Seuss. We had everything from The Cat in the Hat to Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street and more. A little golden books collection containing everything from A Tugboat That Sneezed to, as you see, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Rides Again. And how could we possibly forget the ubiquitous Mother Goose? My family became quite familiar with her tales as well. Of course, as I grew older, I got tired of hearing the same stories over and over again, and my appetite for reading increased as well, so, naturally, our family's collection did as well. And it kept getting bigger, as my interest in reading kept increasing, and one day things finally came to a head when I've made my mother read me no fewer than 12 books in a row. Afterwards, she had to stop because she had some chores to finish. I disagreed, but she insisted. She simply couldn't read anymore. Whereupon I summoned all of my emotional maturity and promptly picked up a book, threw it, and hit her in the head. Next stage in my evolution comes with the Big Four. These were the first 4 books that I ever owned, and these are the ones responsible for jump-starting my interest in literature. The first one on the list is The Bear Nobody Wanted, written by Janet and Alan Allenberg, published in 1993. Next up we have The Daydreamer, written by Ian McEwan and Anthony Brown, published in 1994. Next up we have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, published in 1998 by J.K. Rowling. I remained a fan up through book 5. And last but certainly not the least in my affection is The Hobbit, written by J.R.R. Tolkien in 1937. Obviously, I picked it up quite a bit later than that, and as you can see, I've read it the most because it is easily the rattiest one in the bunch. I am not joking. This thing is literally being held together with Scotch tape and some rubber bands. Now we're going to jump a little forward in time and focus on my literary development during my adolescence. It was at around this time when I first started getting interested in music. My father's influence comes into play here. He always listened to 80s bands such as Metallica, and frankly, in my opinion, quite a bit of the music on today is crap. Flock of Seagulls, The Buggles, some modern music, but only alternative, and of course, classics like Thomas Dolby and Gary Newman. The process of songwriting is essentially the fusion of poetry and music. When you put the two of them together, you can get some fairly remarkable results, and has inspired my own poetry career. My interest in history, more specifically military history, also comes from my father. He is a certified history nut, and I am very proud to call myself one as well. But there's another layer to this interest. My great-grandfather on my father's side ran away from home at 17 to fight in the First World War, and my grandfather on my mother's side fought during the Second. The stories of the soldiers and the people who knew them have always captivated me. I will not deny that war is a terrible thing. However, it has given humanity its most lasting moments of tragedy, failure, success, and drama. The final part of my presentation will move past my past and will focus on my relationship with literature now, in the present. Of course, now the Big Four have become considerably more. I'd give you an exact figure, but I lost count a while ago. But it's a lot. I will admit that I did neglect fiction somewhat when I was in high school, but I have been making up for lost time ever since. I went through a Harry Potter phase, then a Tom Clancy phase. Strange, I know. But recently, the historical fiction genre has caught my eye, more specifically the so-called steampunk or dieselpunk fandoms. Basically, they're books that build worlds and take us back to a future that never was, so to speak. Preferences aside, I'll read anything, provided that it grabs me. By contrast, my interest in nonfiction has been fairly constant over the years. As I said before, most of my interest is found in the military areas. As I said before, war is a terrible thing, but it has often been what gives humanity its best moments of joy, sorrow, tragedy, and drama, and sometimes a surprising amount of humanity. It provokes emotion and action, two things which I find to be indispensable in a good story, fictional or otherwise. What I read has a very close relationship with what I write. You can instantly tell if I've had my hands on a book for a while because in the front and rear section you are going to find dozens of pieces of paper. These are going to be filled up with things like interesting turns of phrase I encountered inside the book, sometimes quotes I've copied down. These things will often form the basis for stories and songs later down the road. Between the covers, you will find dozens upon dozens of bookmarkers. These can be anything from staples to twist ties to old receipts I happen to have lying around, anything that'll help me mark down a place for future reference. Often I've found that if I get writer's block, simply curling up with one of these and leafing through the markers is more than enough to get the proverbial juices flowing again. This course has helped me realize that the relationship between what we read and what we write is often as close as 2 pages in a book. In order to become a good writer, it is necessary to become a good reader. To understand exactly where our ideas come from, how we articulate them, and how we can pass them on to the writers that come after us. Writing has always been a passion of mine, and I hope to continue doing it until the day I die. And with any luck, my own children and grandchildren will inherit that passion as well. Peace out, English 211.